What's up guys, it's me LankyB, and I wanted to make a little bit of a different video today. So obviously we got the Halo Infinite trailer not too long ago, and honestly I've watched it probably about 20 times now. I was a bit dubious at first as to what I would think about Halo Infinite if it was going to be like this, but upon learning that this was a year-old build and that, you know, there's been so many changes which have been made, I just thought, wow, this is pretty amazing. So because I've watched it so many times, I've picked up on quite a few little details, and I wanted to actually make this video for you guys so I can tell you some of the little details which I noticed and you might have missed in the Halo Infinite trailer. Let's get into the video. So starting off this list, we have got upgrades. This was something which I noticed and I thought was absolutely interesting. In the campaign, it looks like we're going to be able to upgrade Master Chief whilst he's in this kind of tactical menu looking at the map. Now this has raised quite a few questions as to what the upgrades might be. Maybe we'll be able to hold more grenades, or maybe our shields will regenerate a little bit faster. Personally, I believe it's going to be equipment related. Also, I think it's quite important to know that we don't actually know how upgraded Chief was when we actually watched the campaign trailer. Perhaps as Chief goes on, he'll be able to unlock more equipment or armor abilities, whichever one we're calling them at this point. And that only leads players to speculate what will multiplayer be like. Are there going to be things which are built into the campaign but not for multiplayer because of the upgrade features? Like what happens if Master Chief had an upgrade which gave him more ammo or a quicker reload, various things like that. We just don't know how these weapons might actually act now in a multiplayer sandbox. And one thing which I thought would be cool in upgrades, and I think this actually might be something which we see, is changing the Chief's appearance. When we actually saw one of the first Halo Infinite kind of trailers, we saw multiple versions of the Chief being used, including a Halo Legends one, so maybe it's actually going to be possible for us to change Chief's armor in the upgrades tab, so maybe we get the Halo 5 variant, maybe we get the Halo 3 variant. I'm not too sure, but I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Maybe we're going to get something like Doom Eternal where we have so many different versions of Doom Guy. Heck, maybe they'll make it so we can actually play as our own Spartan like we could in the Halo Reach campaign. Who knows? So next on our list, we have correcting vehicles mid-air. So this is kind of an interesting one. In Halo 5, 343 Industries made it so that you could adjust your vehicle whilst in mid-air. And it looks like in Halo Infinite, we're going to be able to do just that. In the trailer, there's one part where Chief goes airborne from a bit of the natural landscape. And whilst he's airborne, you see him slightly adjust the Warthog to make his landing just that little bit better. This is probably going to make vehicle combat a little more easier for people, especially as in Halo 5, unless you was a really bad driver or got a really bad bump, you wasn't going to be flipping your Warthog. But this is probably going to make a difference for a lot of the vehicle fans and myself as well, because there's not going to be as much random elements when you're driving now. Some people think this might be a good thing, some people think it might be bad. All I know is not many people actually noticed it in the first place, so it's actually worth bringing attention to it. In at number 3, we have the slide. Now for all those people who enjoy slide, I guess you're in luck. Chief actually does slide at one point in the demo, however it is very brief. The slide in Halo 5 allowed players to slide jump, which is a tech which might be returning now. It allowed players to get quite a big distance from a jump, and well, if that's going to be in Halo Infinite, maybe that's not too much of a bad thing. The slide seems very short, it seems just to be like a cool little animation thing, and hopefully it won't make too much of a difference. However, slide is in the game in case you missed it. Now, one of the other things which I noticed, and I thought this was absolutely fantastic, is how the enemies track your last known position. Now, this is one of the more interesting parts in the gameplay trailer which was completely overlooked. Now, when Chief grapples up to this new bit of platform and he starts shooting the grunts, we see a shade turret. That shade turret looks where Chief is and begins shooting, but Chief goes behind cover and begins taking out grunts. Now the rest of the Covenant forces can't see where Chief is. The Shade Turret completely lost sight of Chief because he was behind this rock, but the Shade Turret began suppressing where Chief was to try and just keep him there. This shows that enemies who lose sight of Chief will watch that one area where they last saw him. It means that enemies aren't just always going to be tracking you, you can actually play a bit sneaky, and I just think this is going to add to so many playthroughs, add so many cool little elements, especially for people who like to do speed running. But this is absolutely fantastic. Number 5, enemies react in multiple different ways when shooting them. Now this might be a bit of a strange one, but one of the things which I absolutely loved in the trailer was how the enemies reacted to getting shot at. The one thing which really stood out to me was one of the brutes getting shot in the leg. And he was running at the Chief, he got shot in the leg and he tripped. This was really interesting because it might seem a bit trivial, but This really highlights how the enemies will act to, you know, getting shot at, and it's nice to see details like this. It's just insane that, you know, you shoot him in the leg, he'll fall over, you shoot him in the arm, what happens if he drops his weapon? There's going to be some really cool things like this where enemies will actually react to getting shot more so than just like doing the classical Halo thing of just throwing their arms backwards. It's going to really make the gunfights quite immersive, and honestly it's something which you hopefully noticed. It's a really amazing detail when you see it. So one of the things which I missed multiple times in the trailer was actually clamber. Now I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of clamber, especially how it was implemented in Halo 5. You could just clamber on everything, kind of fall back and clamber back on the same piece of ledge multiple times, which really just made the game a little bit strange, a little bit plastic in my opinion. It didn't necessarily flow the way that it should do in Halo, and I also love crouch jumps as well. Crouch jumps are some of my favourite things to do, especially in a game like Halo 2 Anniversary, where, oh my god, those jumps are just, oh, I love them. I absolutely love them. However, clamber does appear to be in Halo Infinite. At this one point, we actually see Chief go up and clamber on this little crate, which I missed multiple times. Like, damn, I actually had to be told that the clamber was in the game, and I searched throughout the entire trailer multiple times to find it. It doesn't seem to stand out as much as it did in Halo 5, so maybe this is going to be a little bit better. Hopefully there's a cooldown on it. However, it was only used once in combat, and you know what? It doesn't even seem that bad. It's a shame we're not going to be getting those classic Halo 2 crouch jumps, but oh well, clambering does look pretty cool. Now the next one that we have is scanning. Now something which I thought was actually pretty interesting was when Chief was about to go up to an area, he seemed to scan the entire area in front of him, which allowed him to see things like weapon crates, or at least I presume it's a weapon crate. It's a big yellow thing, we're not too sure what it is. But it's pretty interesting to see that you can scan areas kind of like you could in Halo 5. This is probably going to allow you to get things like intel if there's anything in the map, and you know, it's actually pretty interesting to see. I like that Chief is going to be able to scan. We might be able to find terminals a bit easier that way, especially with such a massive expansive map. It's just pretty interesting to see something like this. It's nothing too big, but it's worth noting. Now in at number 8 we have a big one. We have the Condors. Now the Condors are the super unit, kind of like the equivalent of a Scarab in Halo Wars 2, and we have never seen them in a main series Halo game. However, that looks like it's about to change. Brohammer, which is what people are calling this new pilot, mentioned seeing a few crashed Condors, which we might actually get to go in and maybe even pilot one in the game.
I know I saw Condors over there. I'm going to dig through them and find one with the working sleep space drive.
Now this would be absolutely awesome to see something like on this scale like this. If you haven't seen a Condor, just imagine like a massive Pelican 3 times bigger with like about 3 Mac cannons on the bottom all firing. It's an absolutely insane creation by the Halo Wars 2 crew, and well, having it in a main series Halo game is going to be insane. So one of the things which I haven't seen many people talk about is the new shotgun. Not many people have actually noticed this, but Chief actually picks up a brand new UNSC shotgun and begins using it on the Banished. Now upon further reports, we've actually learned that this is the new UNSC shotgun and that the old one probably will not be returning, which is honestly such a shame. I really did like the old shotgun, and it's going to be really losing a massive part of, you know, the classical Halo feel, kind of like when they removed the spanker from Halo 5. Hopefully they do add the old shotgun back, but this is the new shotgun. So this shotgun is called the Bulldog, and it's kind of semi-automatic. It doesn't seem that bad, to be honest, but I think it's going to be a little bit less powerful. You're probably not able to kill somebody unless you're right up in their face, but who knows? It's going to be an interesting weapon to see. I'd like to see more of it at the very least, but I do hope that we get the classical shotgun added back as DLCs come out, kind of like we did for the spanker. In at number 10, we have equipment for placing the grappling hook. So this is actually an interesting one. The grappling hook is classed as equipment. We know this now because when you pick up a different kind of equipment like the shield wall, you can't actually use your grappling hook until you have deployed your shield wall or whatever other equipment you have. Now not only does this confirm that the grappling hook is probably equipment, but it also means that we're probably not going to be getting the grappling hook built into your Spartans when it comes into multiplayer. It probably means that the grappling hook is not going to be something built in like the thrusters. It's just going to be an equipment item which we can pick up, which kind of makes them seem a little bit more manageable so long as they don't recharge like they do in the campaign. Now obviously we can't confirm that one until we see the multiplayer trailer. However, I will probably be doing another reaction to that one, and I'd like to thank everybody who did tune in to my live reaction of the Halo Infinite gameplay. My attitude towards this has changed much more to the positive sides rather than the I'm not too sure sides now, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I also want to thank you guys for watching this video. I just kind of wanted to make a short list, just a quick video for you guys, and I hope you found it interesting, because there's actually quite a few details which have been missed in this trailer, and I don't think it's getting the credit which it deserves. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.